Let them come.
Hey everyone, this is Arnold98, and here we have Battletrap from Transformers Rise of the Beasts. And this guy is easily my favorite design from the movie. Who could say no to this absolute unit of a design? And I'm always a big fan of those chunky, like, bad guy goon designs, as you see here. And this guy is easily my largest build from the movie so far, with a little over 600 pieces, which is 20 more than what I had for Prime, both of them without weapons. And I feel like this record might be broken soon though. And this guy was extremely tricky due to his robot mode proportions. I felt like halfway through the build process I was running out of places to store robot parts, and I was worried that the robot would be a little hollow and skinny, but luckily that's not the case, and this guy is easily one of my best Rise of the Beast builds so far, and I'm having a lot of trouble ranking them currently. And of course, there are free PDF instructions on Rebrickable. Check the description for the link so you can build this big boy yourself. And here he is in his GMC tow truck mode, easily the weakest part of this entire build. And as you can see, the truck mode is pretty nice. It's a little messy in some spots, but I got all the key details in. And I decided to use the bright yellow-orange color as it perfectly matches what you see on screen. And taking a closer look at the front, just like most of my trucks, he is an 8x8 vehicle. And you got the lights, that little grill area, and these bars over here. I originally wanted to use those grill pieces, but they didn't come in this color. And you got the engine up top, the side mirrors, and the light bar is very clean, how I use those transparent bricks. And the top has some exposed studs, but these are crucial for the robot. And comparing this with the actual vehicle, you can see where the proportions kind of fall apart. This cab section is a bit too thick, and I guess this rear section could be a little bit longer. And yeah, I think the colors are pretty well managed here. This part is more for the robot mode, but it should be black in this vehicle. And I tried to get one of the stripes here. I'm missing the other. And this flap, which is solely used just to cover up the yellow underneath. So if you really want to, you can stick a little like Bernie's logo on there. And the back is quite a mess. These two circular bits are for the robot mode. And because of how much chunk he has in robot mode, the thighs kind of raise the bed of the truck a little too high, resulting in all this being shifted up. And then for the tow truck sections, I'm not quite sure how this actually works, but I think I got most of the details right. You got this main boom that moves up and down, and you got this smaller area with these two side things and this thing. Honestly, I'm not a tow truck enthusiast. And there's plenty of space to attach something to this rear hook, like his mace for example. This is more toy accurate than the movie accurate, but it still looks cool. And he rolls really well on these giant tires. And as you can see, he is very compact in this mode, and pretty hefty too. And another feature that he has is you can attach this missile effect onto the engine block, just like in the chase scene. And here we have Battletrap with Ravage and a minifigure. And here we have him next to his Studio Series toy. You can see the toy has the more proportionate truck mode. Here he is with Optimus Prime. You see how they distribute their mass differently in this mode. And here he is next to his fellow Terracon, Nightbird. One final feature with these chains, you can recreate the chase scene, the part where he takes out Wheeljack and RC. These chains are more for robot mode, so I didn't bother to make the little clamps at the end. Now for the transformation, this guy has one of my favorite transformations for my Rise of the Beast builds in general. It's really fun, and I actually don't mind getting him back in the truck mode too. And to start, we fold up the side mirrors, and then we fold up the front window to reveal the head. And next we're going to come to the back, take the rear light sections, fold them up, take the rear bumper, fold that up, and this will give you the clearance to pass the rear wheels through. And then you fold the lights back down. And next we're going to fold up this flap and fold this section in and rotate this part of the fender. And same for this side. And then coming to the bottom, you want to fold the hands in as far as possible. And next section here, you just want to untab this panel. The bracket tabs right into the side of the panel. And you can rotate this section loose, fold up the toe, and all this here is going to, this section is a hip, so you want to bend it up ever so slightly. And this gives you the clearance to move this whole section past the arms, and just unfold it like that. And same for this side. This is pretty much one of the few tabs on this vehicle mode. fold this in, and then you want to unfold everything here, just like that. And actually fold this all the way up, and then this section too for clearance. And now we can work on the legs by just splitting them ever so slightly. Take these sections, these are the knee pads. These just rotate and fold back. And now for this section here, which is the bumper, you just want to rotate that down. And take all this here, rotate it so the toe points forward. And then fold this section up. And then come to the back, fold this flag section back in here. And this part will fold up, completing the foot. And same for this side. Fold this down, fold this around, and then fold this upwards, and then collapse this in, and then collapse this heel bit in, and also fold that back down. And you can kind of get him to stand. And now we're going to get the arms out, fold this section upwards, and then grab the whole wheel well, and collapse that down like that. And same for this side. I'm grabbing this whole chunk here, it's on a ball joint located right here for the shoulder. You kind of grab it at an angle and pull it out. Finding the exact angle to push this back in is the hardest part of the reverse transformation. We just grab that, and coming over to here, some cool bit of engineering is that this is the torso section. It sits at a 45-degree angle, and it lines perfectly with these little slopes that become the arm spikes. And same for this side, just grab it and pull, and as you do, the torso will start to collapse. And next we're going to pull the chest apart. It just shifts apart like that, and then come underneath and folding out all these little spikes. And next we're going to fold in the corners of the bumper, just like that, and just like this, and then grabbing all this here. This is going to become the center of the chest. This is going to fold all the way around, and now you can line up these hose pieces so they kind of meet in the middle. And because of that, you can rotate all this section to collapse down onto here to get the chest in the right angle. And coming to the chest here, you want to angle it ever so slightly. And coming back underneath, those little sides of the bumper should fold under that gap here. And same for this side. And because of that, you can bring all this up here, take these little bits, fold them back against the abdomen, and then you can take the engine and lower it so this part goes behind the details here. And then you can close the chest ever so slightly. And next you want to straighten up the head and fold up these mirrors behind it. And lying him on the ground, you want to take these two roof sections and split them. They're in a little sliding joint, just like that. And then you want to fold the lights outwards, just like this, and fold them all up, and fold them up again. And next you want to take this little piece here, rotate it, and then take the whole window and fold it down under here. And same for this side, just like that. And then you fold the boom back down, and then rotate the light sections and pass them through the middle. And this part's going to be very interesting. You want to fold this arm down and take this whole section and rock it back. And you can see these arms are held in place on these little struts. You want to make sure they're folded up as far as possible. And these two sections here are just going to go underneath the arm. And this stud right here is actually going to tab right underneath this plate. So we're just going to do this very carefully. There's a lot of angles to keep track of. And just wiggle it in. And push it underneath. And then you can use this part as a little like lever to push everything in. So that's one side done, and that's the other side. And now the torso should be nice and solid. And now for this tow truck area, you want to fold all this inwards here, and then grabbing it on this joint and spin it 180. And then you want to come up to the main arm and split it. It's connected by these clips and the T-joint. And then you want to fold them out as far as possible. And taking these light bar sections and rotating them down like this, you can take all this here in this joint, and this should give you enough clearance for it to pass through. And then this little tip is going to sit right behind the head, and all this is going to sit flush with those side mirrors right here, like this. And then now you can reset these light bars. And finally, you want to take these sections here, it's on this extra joint, you want to bend it and fold it between the gap between this area where the light bars sit, just like this, and just fold this upwards and bend it. And then you want to take this section here and rotate it down, and this section has a T-joint, so they're not perfectly symmetrical. And this is the most satisfying part, to round out the back. All this will collapse in, and you want to bend this down for clearance. And that is a very nice compact backpack. And now we can put the legs back down just for the camera. I had to keep it low. And then taking these hip sections that were sticking out in the tow truck, you rotate this circular piece, and then you fold it just like that. And same for this side. And set it on top of these tiles. And then we're going to deal with the arms. On this extra joint here, you want to straighten it out and rotate it 180 like that. And then you want to take this section here, and it's on an extra joint here, and this little bracket will tab on top of these studs, and you just keep rotating it. And in this section, grab it by the shoulder here, it's going to rotate around, and then you take these wheels here and fold them down, and you rotate this section and fold the fender in. Now for the shoulder pads, you want to rotate this up and then rotate this window section to reveal the spikes, and then all this is going to rotate upwards. And one final touch is to take this little bracket and bend it like inwards a little bit, and then now you can set the shoulder into place and fold this up and then fold down the shoulder pads. And next for this arm, straighten that out, rotate this section, untab this section, and just fold it down on this extra hinge. And you want to grab all this and rotate it like that, and take this wheel well section and fold it up, and on this joint bend it down, and then take the fender and then fold it in like that. And then you can bring up the shoulder sections here like that, and fold this window section to reveal the spikes and set that into place. And then finally take this section and squeeze it to give the shoulders an angle, and then you can position everything and then fold the engine block back down like that. And here's Battletrap in his robot mode. Spinning him around, you can see what an absolute unit he is. I tried to make him as wide as possible while making sure he didn't skip leg day too much. And here's a comparison with him with the concept art image. And the back view, you can see the light bars are just chilling in the back and everything is nice and compact. And let's start with the head. He has a very unique head design, and I think I pulled it off well with that like Gundam looking V fin here. And you got these two like weird pointy ears in the back. And my favorite part is that I used a hot dog piece to represent his visor. This isn't perfectly accurate because the one in the movie he has some like slits where the visor shows through, but I think this provides a nice contrast to the rest of the body. And you can see how wide his chest is, even wider than vehicle mode. And you see little spikes here, the central details, and then you can see the engine block slopes down. And I really like these shoulder pads too, especially with the two spikes here. This one had to be curved for clearance, other than that it should be perfectly straight. And then the arms here are really simple, and you got the little spikes down here which actually help with the vehicle mode, as you saw. And then coming back here, this wheel, it should actually be farther into the bicep, but I think it's fine hanging back here. Coming down here, I got some of the piston detailing for his torso. And the legs are probably the ugliest part. They're a little too blocky and simple, but this is what I had to work with. You got the knee pads, this little bit on the side, and there's not much to it. I like how I got the wheels in the right position. They kind of just chill here. And the feet are very inaccurate. They're very blocky, but I think that's okay. Of course, I really like the back once again, how compact it is. And one minor nitpick would be that he needs a little more bulk down here, as well as he has some hollow spot behind the knee pad, but it's not too noticeable. And for articulation, his head can rotate and look up and down, even into his engine. And the shoulders are pretty unrestricted despite how bulky they are. You can rotate this all the way around. And if you want to move the shoulder even out, the shoulder pad is pretty flexible. And of course he bends at the elbow and rotates at the bicep. And there's even a double elbow bend just because of the transformation. And his hands are similar to Prime's where they just kind of bend in and out, but you get fingers. And he's a very good waist joint. This could basically turn 360, and it's a little rock forward and back here. And the legs are very good, moving at the hips, and a 90-degree bend at the knee. And there's a little bit of ankle pivot here, and you can move forward, but unfortunately not back. And one little flaw is that these ankle joints are a little loose sometimes. So if you try to get him to split too much, he's just going to straight up fall over. But that's because he's pretty big. And you can kind of get him into a dynamic pose, though it's a little tricky due to how heavy and bulky he is. And he passes the dab test with flying colors. And for one of his weapons, we have his minigun here. The center part can spin around freely, and it's fairly simple. It just attaches, this part will just tab right onto his hand. And then taking his arm out, this will just kind of fold over the entire hand to cover it all up. And there he is with the gun. And you can attach the blast effects, and you can recreate the silly run he has in the final battle. And finally we have his mace. This thing is pretty cool and complex. This thing is actually based on a prototype mace I made for Grimlock back in 2016. I pretty much changed the outside details, but the core is basically the same. And you can see there's some orange showing through because the mace glows orange during the museum fight. And in order to attach it, you just need this adapter. And it fits in the bracket behind the hand, and this part just kind of closes over it. And you can just stick it onto here, just like that. And then bringing the chain here, you can take this section off and plug it back in. And then plug it back into this adapter. And yeah, he's ready to swing this thing around. Yeah, this is a cool accessory. It's, I wish I had a little stand to prop this up. Other than that, just gonna sit around like that. And then you can bring in a second chain. And you can give him a very long mace here. And I guess you can just stick this clear part on, and you can kind of pretend he's swinging it like that. And this mace has one additional feature. If you spread these parts out, and this is a bit of parts forming, but you remove the center and it becomes a claw. And you can grab like a small car, or in this case you could pretend you have a piece of a pillar from the museum, and you can just grab onto it and swing it around. And it's a neat little thing. And he looked really sweet with both these weapons. If only there was someone around to give him a real fight. And for a size comparison, here's Springtrap with a minifigure and Ravage, Deluxe Bumblebee and the Rick Diaz. Here he is with his Voyager toy. It's a fun figure, but it doesn't quite capture his chunky look. And for Lego builds, here he is with Freddy Fazbear, Rise of the Beast Bumblebee, and Optimus Prime. You can see Prime's a little bit taller than him, and I believe this is movie accurate. And finally, here he is next to Freezer and Nightbird, and this is a very good Terracon lineup so far, excluding the fact that Freezer is very oversized. And that is it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed Battletrap here. He's my favorite design from the movie, and I think I pulled him off really well in Lego form. I'm glad I got his chunky look down, and even the smaller details are there, like all those little spikes, and I really like how that head turned out. And even though it was a little tricky to see in the video, the transformation is really fun. And the vehicle mode is a little bit the weakest part, but I think it serves its part. And of course, if you want to build this big boy yourself, you can check out the free PDF instructions over in Rebrickable. And that is it, guys. Thanks for watching, and looks like I have one more member to finish this trio off. And this is going to be quite a challenge, so I'll see you guys later.